Alright guys, so we're going to get in game now, and we're going to start with the T side defaults. So I'm going to start with B, since I play B and it's easier to explain. I think the important thing that going to B is you need to bait the utility and be ready for the B push. But at the start of the round, it's good if you help the lower guy, just in case there's any aggression towards cat or there's any aggression towards lower. And you don't need to worry about the B push right away, because usually it doesn't happen. And there's some tricks you guys can do down here, like you can boost your partner here and to peek if there's an opper there, or you can jump spot and see if there's an opper there or anything. And usually I would go back to B when your partner secures lower and he does his other roll. And here you need to, it's pretty boring, but you need to find some angles that can punish the B push really well. There's some common spots, like people like to be on this side, try to get on this side early and hold the B push, but it's a common hold. So some people might molly you, or they might expect you with the push and they'll hold you when they double push. So it's pretty hard to fight when they start pushing. So some angles that people like to take are passive and spawn. And personally, I don't like to be in this position because it's hard. It's hard to punish the other team for me. So I like to take a lot of off angles that they might not expect you, or it's hard for them to clear. When people push, they like to clear the angles first. So one guy will hold like this for the peak here, and it could possibly be an opper here clearing all these common angles. So it's really hard to stand here, and it'll be a free kill for him if he comes with an op. He'll clear T-spawn, and maybe at this point he'll try to peek lower. So some good off angles that I like to take are here, next to this pillar, and they usually walk into your crosshair or they'll swing across and they won't expect you here. Another good spot is on top of this box. Almost every time when I stand here and people come push up or B, it's almost a free kill, and once you get the free kill, they might try to trade you, so you try to drop, and you just need to get information at this point. And sometimes you might not be able to punish the B push always, so getting the information is always good. And people don't understand that sometimes when you just stay alive and just get this information, that's how you win the round easier. You don't always need to kill to be the hero of the round or anything. You can get the information, and it creates gaps around the map. You can kind of picture the setup. If there's two towards B, they might be stacking towards B with one, or mid might be free, and your partners can come out mid and walk out and try to find a free kill and play out the round. And the next thing you need to know is that your utility is not that important in the round unless your in-game leader tells you to. And it's really important that you bait their nades, but you gotta do it at a good time. If they smoke upper B at the start, there's no reason for you to throw any nades to bait more nades because they're already using their utility. So after, maybe when the smoke fades, you can throw one of these one-ways. The one I like to do is, you gotta be safe here. A lot of operas like to hold this angle on the left. So I like to strafe it a little bit and clear it. And once it's clear, I try to get as far left as possible on this pillar, and I just aim as far right as possible on the line here. And usually this one way, people will be scared of it, and you can kind of tell what kind of setup they'll be in. When they see the smoke, they'll sometimes molly you, they'll spam from the plat, and when they spam, it kind of tells that he's alone, and that's the B guy that's watching tunnels, so he's not going to be aggressing you early. And there are plays you can make around the smoke. If you have good timing, you beat him and count him off timing, or you got good timing, got good position. The smoke here, there's like a one-way on the right, and you can see door, you can kind of see window. And what I like to usually do is when there's a guy plat spamming, when it's about to fade, usually there's a guy jumping door or hiding from the smoke or hiding car. When the smoke fades, I try to walk across and get a free kill here and just kind of read their setup. And I think that's the most important thing for a B player. The important things are to get good spots for aggression and try to bait their utility as much as possible. Once they use their first smoke and you throw another smoke after their smoke, they might use a molly, they might use flashes, and it makes life easier when you try to MB later if your in-game leader calls it. Another thing you can do is when you try to MB, it's good that you use the smoke and maybe even throw a molly to bait and let them spam a bit. And once they start spamming and wasting their clip, then your teammate can regroup and use the ending of the smoke. And when it fades, by the time you get out, it should be able to fade and you guys can trade easily here. So that's I think that's the most important thing about the B side role. All right, so let's get into your partner's role, who goes lower. So at the start of the round, there can be some damage that you can do with nades with your B partner. You can nade early for people who like to peek close and maybe do some damage, but your job is to make sure lower is clear. And like I said, you can get your partner here if you need help to clear some angles. And once you get this angle, um, once you clear these angles, you can cross lower and just clear your angles. And once you get here, usually your job is to try to clear close mid and make life easier for your opper and your top mid partner to start progressing mid and start getting cat. The one thing I forgot to mention is when you come lower and you think they're cat, you can ask for a flash from your teammate who's top mid to flash over lower from here, and you can peek with it in case there's an opper there trying to boost, or they're playing on cat and trying to fight you, and it could be easier duel with your teammate here once they clear it. And once you get here, I think some players have different mollies. Some people like to clear the right side angle here, or they like to clear close mid here, so you can't really get caught off guard when they're close mid. A lot of people like to just throw a molly close here and clear out the angle and spam the cubby here on the right. Some people throw a harder molly from the door to clear the close right angle as well. They spam. And there's a lot of oppers who like to put a lot of pressure mid, throw flashes, throw mollies, and try to slow down your mid control, who like to stay here, and it's really hard to stop these guys. So you gotta use good flashes, and some people just throw flashes over lower to maybe throw a bait for the top mid guy to cross, and he can throw a better flash for you to push off this opper. And then your job is just to get up Xbox and wait for your teammate cat. And usually here there's a support for you guys to clear these angles. There's a molly that you can throw here that will get the ledge here. So a lot of oppers like to hide here and wait for flashes and peek you after, or they'll hide on the ledge and ask for a pop flash and clear these angles. So there's a molly that you can throw here that will cancel out that angle and make it harder. So you just open up to this door and aim at the top and throw it. It usually banks off and it will get the ledge as well. So they can't really stay here, and if this guy's on the left here, he might feel the pressure to just jump back, and when your flash comes from your teammate, you can maybe catch him off guard, and that's about it for this guy, I think. This guy is a more versatile role. He can do many things. He's like the X factor of your team. He can go back to mid. He can go back to long whenever you guys want to end. I think the important thing for these two players here, after they take cat control, is that a lot of teams like to re-aggress you or throw a lot of nades towards you and make you feel the pressure. They would molly you to keep you back, and the opper can come up here and re-peek you. So it's good that you guys understand their aggression and know how to counter it. And when people like to re-push, they don't just push with one, they'll push with two, maybe even three. So as your job, you can stay here and try to spot for your teammate who's hiding here, hiding from a flash or something. And when you spot them, when your teammate's ready, you can throw a good flash over and try to get some kills and play the trade. And I think that's about it for this guy. And going into the next role, I think the opper's role. Let's see. I think at the start of the round, it's really important that if you're not going for a B pick or some sort of play early in the round, you need to hold mid for the early mid push for your teammates from top mid, your lower guy, making sure they can't go lower, holding these type of angles, or you can try to get the cross pick and going down suicide. You can hold from here as well, on top of the box. I don't know how to jump up there, but. So the opper is kind of like a support role as well in Dust 2. You try to help open up the map, hold the angles that your teammates can't hold all the time. And he's the guy who makes life easier for the cat guys. When you start progressing mid and he starts progressing top mid as well, he can hold the top mid peaks, the cat peaks, and it makes life easier a lot. And when they flash over and peek you, that's when it gets hard. That's where you need to use your utility and push them back and making sure your teammate doesn't get punished from an opper. And they can't just keep peeking the angles that oppers that like to re-peek, holding tight angles for you to jump up cat or something. And there's a lot of picks you guys can do as well. I think at the start of the round, running lower B with the op is pretty good if you have a good spawn. A lot of people like to, I think the timing, you beat the cat guy from lower if you run as fast as you can. If you run lower from B tunnels and get here, usually you beat the opper there as well. Fallen likes to do this a lot, and I think he gets killed most of the time. But the opera has a lot of freedom. You can do many things that you want, and once you get cat control in mid, there's a lot of things you can do. You can go out mid and hold the angles. A lot of teams like to, you can bait utility throwing a mid B smoke and kind of convince them that you're going out mid, throw a few flashes, and holding this angle right here. A lot of people like to flash and go through. A lot of people like to fight mid, and usually when people go through mid, there's a guy on the left, and your teammate can stay anti-flash here and open up and just play out the round from there. I think the opera has a lot of roles in a sense, depending on what you do early in the round. If you take long control, it's really important that the opera can do holding the top mid push if they're playing on cat, or get in pit and clear out the angles. I think playing in pit with the op is probably the strongest because it doesn't allow the opera in sight to keep repeaking and making your teammates pressured to not get good angles. And there's a lot of different things you can do from pit. If you don't see anything, you can tell your teammates to start walking up and catching them off guard. There's a lot of different executes you can do, like smoking the cross and connecting the smokes and just walk across or flash and go across. And that's where the opera comes in handy in a way. He can stay anti-flash like this, covering your sight, and when the flash comes, they might run through the smoke, and he should be able to get a free kill and hold the long flank as well. There's many things you guys can do. And I don't know too much about the opping role on Dust 2, but that's what I know about it. So going into the cat player's role, or the top mid guy's role. So it's really important at the start of the round, when you come towards here, to expect the top mid push from cat, because the opera might be holding mid for the lower cross or for the mid peak, and he can't get the catwalk push early. And usually some common pushes are boosting 2 up cat and maybe having an odd wash lower and one trying to push top mid fast and catch you guys off guard. So it's really important at the start of the round that you guys hold some good angles here. Maybe play like a headshot angle from car, from here, holding the top mid push, or trying to be super sneaky and waiting for them to get greedy and push all the way, or even holding from here where they'll keep pushing and clearing long. Afterwards, if they don't push and your opera gets to start holding your catwalk and your teammate asks for his flash, usually you would throw this flash almost every round for your lower guys, just in case the opera on cat or they're fighting on cat. And there's many things you can do to get cat control. You can smoke Xbox from T-spawn, but sometimes that allows the CT to hide in smoke here, so there's a lot of plays you can make around the Xbox smoke early in the round, so not many teams like to throw it at the start. But once you flash and they start clearing lower, you wait for your mid guy to start clearing mid, and he flashes over mid, and that's where you can show up and not get killed from an opera. And you let your opera progress cat with you and start holding the mid angles. Even throw a flash out mid if you feel like you need it, in case there's an opera to holding the angle where you can't cross. And this is where you start walking up cat, jiggle all the angles in case the opera's playing a little more passive. And once you get here, like I said, with your partner, you can throw this molly if you have it, and you flash over, you start clearing it. And actually, this guy's role is super important in the round once you get cat control. People think that once you get cat control, that's where you have all of the map, and that's not what happens. A lot of teams like to regress everywhere on Dust 2. It's a map that people don't like to play passive the whole round. There's always something happening during the round, whether it's upper B push or long pushes. But the most common one and the hardest one to fight is when they regress cat. They can throw a deep molly, which kind of gives a tell that they might be coming, but they'll come and molly the cubby where it's hard for you to hold. And that's where you start looking, and they might throw a flash at you and you get caught off guard, so it's really hard. It's good that you guys stay at good angles. Angles that I like to hold are here, because when you strafe here, it's a headshot angle and you can see them start pushing, and it's harder for an op to kill you. And whenever you think they're pushing, even if it's a wasted flash, it's good that you ask your partner to flash over here above you or something, so that the regression is safe and you don't die from it. And that's where you know they're not regressing cat, and you can start doing executes. And I think that's it for this role as well. And the last role is the outside long role. I don't know too much about this role. I haven't really played it in my career, but I know some important things. It's kind of like the B guy. You don't need your nades as much unless your caller tells you that you need it. So there's many things you can do at the start of the round. You can fake long A control, smoking the corner with a jump behind that I don't have. But you smoke the corner and you just throw your flashes over. You try to bait their nades. And a lot of people play for, it's pretty obvious when people play for long. They would molly the door, they would nade you, they would throw a lot of flashes, and you know they're playing for long, and that's usually the standard setup. So it's good that you use their utility. And I think the important thing for the long guy is to not let them get control here. Because when they get control here, they can start getting more information for the CTs. They can hear you top mid, they can hear you cat, they can hear how many there are. And it's hard for them, it's harder for you to be a little less predictable. Being less predictable. Yeah, I don't know too much about this role, but it's just really important that you don't let him get control here. You guys can ask your partner who goes cat to come boost you here as well on top of this box. So when they smoke here, you might be able to see them cross the door here trying to play close or something, and you can get some information where they're playing. But once they get control in here, it's hard to play the round out a little bit, because if they get control here, you're gonna need to use your utility to try to re-clear here. And this is a part of the map that you should have already. And using utility to clear it, it just makes the round harder later in the round where you want to end it, when you need an extra flash or an extra smoke or something, an extra molly. But a lot of people actually do like pushing in here, and there are some tendencies as well. People like to molly in here, and after that molly, they will molly deep as well. Sometimes people fake if they're there just to make you use your utility. The opera could come here and peek you. And yeah. So it's really important that you know your angles and find a good angle to hold. And if you know they're mollying deep, some people do like to get in, so you can quickly ask for someone to hold a flash for you, and when the molly fades, you flash in there and try to clear it. And I think that's about it for the T-side defaults.